That'll be the unofficial title, the official unofficial title with and David Lynch. Yeah.
That gives the worms and doing a whole new fucking.
Oh yeah,
right. So logging into social media, and then everyone's talking about the death of their favorite celebrity, giving all their tributes. I mean, that gives a different meaning to the word tribute. If we wanted to go higher brow, there's this idea of detournement. Have you heard that word? It's not detainment, but kind of detournement. Where this symbol is taken, and then its meaning is completely flipped to mean the opposite. So something that was a symbol for good is taken and completely flipped over.
I mean, it's the era of acceleration and inversion, right?
Correct.
And so because of that, everything that gets presented to us from any perceived authority or, the corporate structure, or the entertainment sphere, all this stuff is always going to be inverted. And I don't know about you guys, think of it. But we were talking about this when I was up at Ben's, but like there's some seriously weird shit going on with time right now.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. It's like hands on a clock. If it's between, 12 noon and 3 o'clock, like it could mean a different salute.
Mm-hmm.
So there was talk of hand placement and how high your hand could go above your head before.
Well, we have a handy guide for this. We do, and that's no pun intended. No pun intended. There is a convenient reference material, right? So,
call taxi, call waiter. Between that is the red zone.
That's the red zone.
Indeed. Like that they
included especially when you look like me and Steve.
It's true.
In fact, we actually have to widen it a little bit. We got to keep it down there toward the pet children. We don't even call the taxis like
no.
But see, now we could determine that essentially and say, well, that looks like a man who's looking at his fingernails, and because he's looking at his fingernails that way, it might have something to do with his sexuality.
Right?
Have you heard it said that way? So everything means something.
Oh yeah. Hand position is very important.
Like how much higher are your fingers than your knuckles when you're showing them off? If you're especially showing off your fingernails to people, then that means something completely different. So tying that back to David Lynch and the word Lynchian and his use of symbolism and everything means something. And when people go to look at the murder of Laura Palmer, the woman wrapped in plastic, they went over that.
I don't know what that is. Is that an art thing or is this
Yeah. So he made a series called Twin Peaks or something, and then there was a reference to that in a restaurant, modern day restaurant, which was like a Hooters restaurant. So they took the art of Twin Peaks and turned it into a sports bar. So
when
they took
I lived
the notoriety.
In Vegas, we went there for UFC night.
Right. Yeah. So Twin Peaks fans looking for coffee and cherry pies were getting boobs pressed in their face, and they were having a different experience. So the word being Lynchian, having to do with surrealism and dreamlike logic and the passage of time, because in the movie Walk With Me, it's more of an R-rated movie. Mm-hmm. The television series was more of a melodrama. It was sort of a weird soap opera kind of play on things. And there was a lot of anachronisms in the show. So you never knew what era the show was in. It was like early 90s, but then you had girls dressed like they were in the 1950s. So it was sort of this old world mentality of the best of America. But now we're getting to the 90s. Now we're getting into the information age, and everything is getting really, really dark. And there's a dark, seamy undercurrent that is taking over everything. So people were talking a lot about David Lynch due to the art that he created. But
he was also, I think, the first prominent member of the Hollywood community to question the official narrative around the September 11th attacks.
No shit.
Yeah.
Did not know that. That makes me happy because of anybody in Hollywood in any way, shape, or form, I've watched Lynch's movie at least the most. the original
Dune version.
Yeah, the original Dune. I've watched that, I don't know, like 1,000 times or something. I don't know.
How many times have you watched our intro video?
Have I watched our intro?
Yeah.
At least 40.
I'll tell you what, let's run. I have the clip, and I don't know 100% or not if this is the first time that he brought this up or if this is just fairly early clip, but as you'll see when I get to pull it up, it's from 2006. And he's on Dutch TV here.
Well, looking Dutch as fuck while he's on there too.
Of conspiracy. There also are conspiracy theories of huge proportions. And you suggested we show a part of a clip of the documentary Loose Change by Dylan Avery. And that was a film that has been watched by 10 million
Shout out to
viewers
Dylan
because
Avery.
you could see it through the internet. No charge. And it is the film sums up in a way that all the theories about US government having planned the September 11th attacks on the World Trade Center. But let's first watch it. What do you think? Do you think it's convincing what they tell in the film?
It's not so much what they say. It's the things that make you look at what you thought you saw in a different light. And those things for me that bother me is the hole in the Pentagon being too small for a plane. The lawn isn't mussed up, and the government's not showing the plane hitting when many cameras photographed it. At the World Trade Center, 3 buildings came down like demolition, and 2 of them were hit by a plane. But the third one, they said, "Do you want us to pull it?" And they pulled it, and it looked just like the other 2. Those things bother me. In Pennsylvania, the plane that went down, it was just a hole in the ground. There wasn't any wreckage. There wasn't any skid marks. There wasn't any tear in the earth. And no one's ever really found out about that. So every place, there's questions coming from this documentary. And you don't have to believe everything in the documentary to still have questions come up. And you look back and you remember what you saw and what you were told, and now you have questions.
And the event itself did it change your life, or did it change your view of
it? Now it's just an event that has many questions and no answers.
And the suggestion that the American government is behind it? What does it mean?
Too big for people to think about. It's too big.
What do you mean?
It's just, it's like something no one wants to think about.
Yeah, so there's David Lynch. Almost 20 years ago.
Wow.
Having a conversation, and this is just months after Loose Change was released too, because they put that out. I think they put it out on September 11th, 2006.
Oh yeah.
And that was
anniversaries are important. The symbolism of the numbers, certainly everything means something, and as we're now seeing with new information released every day, we look backwards in history to try to put pieces back together to say, well, how did we get here? It's kind of the big question tonight, is how did we get to
what's fucked up is like Steve talked, like you guys talked about at the beginning, both of you, that it's just too much right now. It's like everything's happening all at once and it's all big stuff. Like it really makes the 80s and the 90s seem so very slow compared
quaint as a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we were just sitting around, swinging our feet, hanging out.
It was 10 years ago when Marty McFly went back to the future. The future was 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Look nothing like the show, like the movie did either.
By the way, Ben, we still need to watch that Back to the Future predictive programming thing. I gotta send that to you. According to Tease, it's phenomenal, and I believe it. I do.
Nice. Well, it'll be nice.
But yeah,
that one's got a lot. And
yeah, Back to the Future was we did
Joshua Cromley made it tonight, and Sarah G. Michael's always here right away. Good to see you, Gregory Walker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stella, Corrine Skipper. We love all you guys. Analog Lime.
Analog Lime. That's a fantastic handle, by the way.
It is. And then his comment is, we are in the alternate 1985 timeline.
We might be. We've got Biff back in the White House.
I thought you were going to say Biff Tannen's casino. If we're talking about casinos, we could talk about, well, we call them shit coins. Now they're trying to force them as meme coins. They're not meme coins. There's nothing.
Well, let's simmer down on that. We got Jaron coming in here in a couple weeks, and we will dish out on the coins.
Well, no, this was more of a roast of Donnie and Melania before releasing their particular rug pulley shit coins. Yeah. Somebody's got to do spit coins. Somebody does.
Was it
Look, if you're a black-hearted, cutthroat capitalist bastard and you want to make a quick buck on a rug pull, do spit coin and just donate a little bit of it to the show, like 2-3 million to the show.
I'm still waiting on somebody to come up with the Monica Lewinsky blunt wraps.
Yeah. That's got to happen too. The
Monica Bominski.
Monica Lewinsky blunt wraps.
You have to spoonerize it, so it's Bonica Malinsky.
You know, they're obviously presidential.
See, the point with the meme coin is, I think the way they get by with it is that it's the person who makes the coin authorizes the coin. So it's Trump coin, and it's Trump announcing it on X or Twitter.
I don't know. Somebody else made a Trump authorizes coin. It. That's like basically the face of it. He's like Aunt Jemima or something like that. It's
right.
Not like
but if someone else made a Trump coin, he'd have his guys go after them. So my question here is, how is this allowed when? I know we're going to save this greater debate, but my question is, there's been other people. I know Telegram had their TON tokens that they were working on to finance, and that went through some no, you can't do that situation. And then LBRY Library, the people that now have the Odyssey video sharing website, they were trying to do a tokenization thing, and then government people knocked on their doors and said, "Hey, this is really interesting. Tell us everything you have planned for this." Mm-hmm. So there was some slowdown and some delays, and they had to make change of plans. For Trump to announce to his ex-Twitter followers, "Hey, coin's coming out tomorrow. Be ready for it." And then sort of rewarding loyalty to the people that were following him. So they would be the first people to try to play in that pool of meme coins.
Yeah, Cheney's the one that I first saw this about from, because I think Cheney's all very into it.
Right. So this
is probably a good bet. I mean, I would say that the Trump coin is probably going to do better over the next year than the Haktua coin.
He already rug pulled it. He already did the rug pull on the Trump coin.
Did he?
Yeah.
Partially when his wife Melania released her coin, so people took their gains from Trump coin and then cemented their gains by purchasing Melania's coin.
That's that. You know what that is? That's
so
when
now the magic bean is under this shell.
That's when you got a 16 on the table, but you double down anyways. That's what that is.
Right. So in a world where sports betting is seemingly promoted by the NFL itself, like you're watching football games and they themselves putting sports betting platforms doing the program. This is just the comment earlier was we don't know what world we're living in anymore. This is also different from how it had been. To imagine that, 2025, everything would be gambling and money would not be real. But people would still be starving and not have real money.
It is Back to the Future. It is. Yeah. It is. 100%.
So we got to steer away from this. This is all for the upcoming Jaron debate.
Let's talk China then.
Steer away. Steer away. Let's talk. Addition to the fire from our last debate is that the world's largest, not United States largest, not California, world's largest lithium producer went up in flames. And for those of you who have not
happening in Gaza is indisputable. Fragment.
Shit. Sorry.
Yeah.
For those of you that have not,
for a different clip. I was going
for those of you that haven't had the joy of watching some of my shows with Emily Moyer, there's a whole Element series. And on the last show, we talked about specifically with those elements in that first row, you can't put them out with water because they will snatch that oxygen right the fuck out of that water, break the chemical bond. And funny thing about bringing up old 9/11 with the whole thermite thing, that's actually a type of chemical reaction where oxygen jumps bonds. And let me tell you, that's particularly vicious when it does that, when oxygen jumps its bonds and breaks them. So you just can't put it out with water, air, anything that has oxygen in any way, shape, or form is going to make that go poof.
I heard Zoomers love 9/11 jokes. It's the funniest thing to them, apparently.
Right.
Which just is shocking to older people who were alive during that time.
Ha! Yeah. And then here's
Moss Landing, California.
Yeah, so world's largest lithium battery facility. Vistra power plant, Moss Landing. Officials have no timeline for extinguishing the toxic blaze, but the reference for the last lithium battery fire in California burned for 11 days.
Like I said, the problem being you got to completely cut it off from oxygen or else it does this. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. So anything containing oxygen, including water, is not going to cut the mustard here. And it's on a marsh. Yeah. And that's a very interesting thing because can you pull up the thing from Telegram that I sent that shows the
maybe. As long as it doesn't require audio, I can't share audio from Telegram.
Just a picture of the lithium prices. The lithium price.
Where to go?
So we can see that from it when Steve pulls it up that in 2018, prices peaked due to a rapid expansion of the EV market. Electric vehicle market. 2019 prices declined due to an oversupply. And we fast forward to today where in Trump's speech, he said the electric vehicle push is over. Ford has Ford has completely quit manufacturing their division of electric vehicles. Enterprise got rid of the entirety of their electric vehicle line, which was 40% of their cars, I think, if I recall. So you got to imagine
people hated it.
Yeah. So you got to imagine that here now with Trump doing this and saying now the government backing on this electric vehicle push is done. The prices, at least over the next 4 years, are going to completely just bottom out. And I know myself personally, if I owned the world's largest producer of something that the prices are getting ready to bottom out on, I would feel horrible if my entire giant factory went up in flames and I just got to collect money while it's still sitting good.
Oh, and to add to that, though, California just dropped the mandate for zero emission trucks. Yeah.
And you guarantee that the ban on small gas 2-stroke engines is about to be gone too. Because with the focus on forest fires right now, the fact that Newsom basically tried to take away anything under a 461, I think. Like I can still get my because they don't make an electric, I think, above a 400. So, but anything smaller than that is banned in California now for buying anything new, anything like that. And that's that's going to get overturned too.
You're only up here because there's a dinner plate.
So
like you can only haul so many fucking giant lithium batteries out in the woods with you when you're out there hucking through, going out there with your saw, and like with my saw, 1 gallon of gas, some oil, some bar lube in my saw, and I'm good to go for a whole damn day.
Dude,
almost wanting to install TikTok just to see people's reactions.
Okay, and then add to that your chipper, which would also have to comply with that lithium battery standard.
Yeah.
Do you know how many chippers would just explode in the middle of the woods on a fucking 110-degree day?
100%.
Like you couldn't work. You'd be shut down for most of the summer, which is when you need to be out there cutting trees. Like it's the most counterintuitive thing you could possibly think of.
I said, and all of this to me says severe decline in the next year of the lithium battery prices, and a severe decrease in lithium production. And if I own the world's largest lithium producing plant,
right? So here's the other side of that, and it's something that Garland Nixon brought up on the show this morning. Within 48 hours, plus or minus, I don't remember which, of the lithium plant here in Moss Landing burning up, Russia fully secured an area of the Donbass that has the largest lithium mine in Europe. So we just lost, the United States, Moss Landing, all that kind of stuff, who, by the way, is a massive agricultural community that now has the runoff from that flowing onto a ton of freaking farmland all over the place there. They just lost the largest, U.S. domestic lithium battery facility, as Russia gained the largest lithium mine in Europe, in an area that voted and was begging to be a part of the Russian Federation for the last 11 years. Yeah.
Ever since they seem to recall when the actually elected president was overthrown and replaced by, that's right, Zelensky, who refuses to let there be elections because it's not the time to have an election.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple. Yeah, there was at least one other president before him briefly, but yeah, Zelensky was. The name of the TV show was The Servant of the People, and it was about a teacher who gets hand selected to become the president of Ukraine. And then the guy who owned the TV station that put him on, dude who owns 3 passports, one Ukrainian, one Swiss, and one Israeli, named Ihor Kolomoisky, formed a political party called the Servant of the People Party. The candidate for it was Volodymyr Dolomir Koki Smurf Zelensky.
So that's fucking fascinating. William McKnight, in-person friend of mine, he put in the chat, look at, he lives up in Idaho, look at Idaho's cobalt. And apparently Idaho's got the only cobalt mine in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to expand right now, plans to expand the mine's resource model through drilling. The company is working with the U.S. Department of Defense on a refundable cobalt refinery site selection.
Yep, and they just flooded out all of the people who had been, generational residents of the particular area in Appalachia that has the largest lithium deposits in the U.S. And all of the super pure quartz for chips and a number of other components for the Internet of Things.
It is.
And then there's Thacker Pass in Nevada for the lithium too, where they're trying to run natives off their land to get at the lithium.
It's the world today is so much different, but it's always the same fucking story. The people with money and resources run the people off the land to get to said resources and have no problem burning them out and killing them. It's no different than the when they were laying the train tracks, when they were doing anything else. This is just time and again throughout history. This is what happens. And as the desired resources change, they still do the same, taking 60% of the water from farmers. Holy shit. Wow. Is that to cool it or to process it?
Probably all of it.
To grow avocados with.
Right.
I don't know that they're growing too many avocados there up in Idaho. There,
pistachios.
Those Idaho avocados.
Potatoes.
That's California,
Okay.
and that's the Resnicks.
Yeah, they're the ones that suck up all the water down here for their almond trees. Them almond trees take up mad water, crazy amounts of water.
Wow.
In fact, the Resnicks fund a lot of the think tanks that advocate for war with Iran because the nation of Iran is a pistachio producing, in fact, the largest or second largest next to the Resnicks producer of pistachios on the earth. And for a couple of decades now, like they've heavily funded think tanks that advocate for basically wiping Iran off the face of the planet, not just in the U.S., but also
Iran. It's got to
Israel.
suck to be Iran.
Yeah,
let's be honest about that. I've been waiting for somebody to come in, because we've been personally trying to pick fights with the Trumpers. I know right now it's super popular to go against the libtards, but we're going to go ahead and let everybody else has already taken up all the low hanging fruit. We're going to go ahead and try and, get with some of these other people who are running around screaming how awesome they are. And one of the things I would bring up is that at the beginning of the Biden presidency, about 4 months before Trump left his presidency, or 6, I can't remember which, he signed into effect putting an embargo again on Iran, who we just endlessly fuck with. And once you take Iran out of the oil market, prices historically double every time. Where as opposed to the war that they picked with Russia, we were getting about 3% of the oil of our oil was coming from Russia is all. So that embargo that they placed on Iran is really what spiked the gas prices in 2020 for sure. You know, where they made a hard spike. That was a new embargo placed on Iran. And all the Trump people, they don't seem to notice things like that it didn't matter who was in office. You take Iran out of the market, prices double. That's what happens.
Yup. So the Saudi foreign minister is like, no, nobody's going to war with Iran. Don't worry about it. Calm down. And that's what he's running around telling people. The Saudi foreign minister comes from the family that is like on the Saudi side, one of the principal shareholders to Aramco, which is the single largest corporation on the planet. And it's the oil company that the U.S. and Saudi Arabia exterminated a good portion of the country for back in the 50s. Yeah. One of the board members of Aramco comes directly from BlackRock. So it's all just one big incest party up in there with, you know, corporations that are themselves owned by a couple of different corporations that are owned by a couple of different, you know.
So even the timeline thing, can we put all of that onto NAFTA? Like everything you're saying right now, the whole time, the whole sped time, all of that, can we put all of that onto NAFTA basically?
All of it? I don't know. Maybe they actually did find Stargate.
Is it a Gulf of America trade wind coming up?
Right.
So we could call it the Gulf of America because there's North America and South America.
Jesus.
But capital A America implying the US of A makes people really upset, which is kind of a clever, funny move. And I saw that Hillary was giggling when Trump announced that. I don't know. I don't know if it was the same guy.
By that point in his speech, it was like he was promising all the things by that point in his speech.
He did free Ross Ulbricht today. He did free Ross Ulbricht.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
The dude who is actually trading Bitcoin, set up a system based off Bitcoin back when Bitcoin was being sold as your information will it was like the Swiss bank account for the poor man. Like your information's not attached to this money in any way, shape, or form. They'll never find out who you are. They can never trace this back to you, blah, blah, blah. Like, and now they're like, oh yeah, no, we use the blockchain to trace it right back to you, motherfucker.
Yeah. Well, they gave him double life plus 50 for nothing that they actually proved in court.
Yeah, well, that's the federal government for you. They what do they got, a 98% conviction rate, something like that, the feds, because they just don't fucking lose. They lie, cheat, steal, and they have more resources than you.
Yeah, so there was a huge lobbying effort by the Libertarian Party, well, by Angela McArdle and a couple other people. Angela's national chair. That's why they invited Trump to the convention, trying to get a couple other promises out of him. That's when Trump said, if you guys help me get elected, I'll free Ross Ulbricht. She basically, in the eyes of a lot of people, sold out the Libertarian Party to Donald Trump. So this is the pound of flesh for that. And it's an actual living, breathing pound of flesh in Ross Ulbricht. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, dude, that's a wild compromise to make. That's a hell of a gamble. It really is. You know what I mean? This is the dude that you were just screaming at a year and a half ago because he was the guy saying, you know, we love the WikiLeaks and we need more WikiLeaks. Give us the WikiLeaks. And then threw the dude in jail while his CIA director was trying to figure out how they could loophole kill him. You know.
I don't even understand how, and this is what's just, you know, always been the grossest thing about political people. Like, both parties do the same bullshit, and they both they'll sit there, and it's like watching a super toxic couple that's separating. They'll point at the other one and scream to everybody how they do this thing, this behavior. Well, it's a behavior that they also do to the max, and you're like, you people are just gross. Like I know, like a lot of guys, like when you're a more manly dude, they like, if you see a couple that's actually physically harming each other and they're getting crazy, and they always expect you to run over and beat the dude up, and it's like, unless that situation was really crazy, no chance. I'm not sticking my nose in that dumb shit. She's just as stupid as he is. Like there's almost no situations where the dude is like that out of line without the chick also being completely crazy. Like, you know, like where the one person's a normal person and the other person's just batshit out of line all the time and acting like crazed. That's not how that works.
There's a popular subreddit called Am I the Asshole, where people will post evidence and ask, am I the asshole? And I would put forward that if you're having to ask, am I the asshole? I think you're in the asshole territory. You're around the rim of the area of the irritation. So whether or not you're the irritation or the irritant, it's like everything is irritating. It's irritating to think about, to talk about. It's disgusting. You're bringing it up in public. And this is really the fact that if you have to bring a private matter out into the public and ask the entire internet to say, choose a side, it's a disgusting look. It's not a high level morality play here. You're both icky. You're both disgusting. You're both gross. Take a time out. Clean yourself up.
Larkin Rose said that he did not release Ross.
So what was released was that there was a statement that Trump put out on True Social that said, I talked to Lynn Albrecht, Ross's mom, and I said that Ross was going to get a full and unconditional pardon. So no, he's not walking out of jail tonight. They're still releasing the J6 prisoners and shit like that.
So some news is
so there've been
social exclusive.
That's what he's using as his, you know, personal. I don't know who he transferred ownership of True Social to.
Okay.
Because he would have to do that before going into the White House, before being fully inaugurated. So yeah, I mean it's you know. No, Ross Ulbricht didn't walk out of jail today. No. But that's something that he's gonna have to be like. That's something that's gonna have to be followed through. You know,
which that doesn't honestly surprise me. I realize that, and believe me, I understand. I've been the one locked up before, but they've got to go through all kinds of bullshit paperwork, the whole nine. Like, even if you're in just jail and you go to court and you get found innocent, you would think that you could just be like, deuces, fucks, you know, and walk away. But that is not how that pans out.
No.
Like, you're still locked up for a minute.
Yeah. And then when you get released at 11 o'clock in the morning or something, they freaking buzz into your cell and they're like, all right, you're going home. If you don't walk out until between midnight and 4 a.m.
Dude, when I got released, from prison, because I flatted my number. And so because I couldn't do the whole parole thing. I couldn't let him, I just can't.
Yeah.
I don't do well with being told what to do. I live out in the mountains, fuck off. And I know that, and I wasn't going to let him turn my little cannabis thing into a lifetime achievement award of time in print, So I was like, I'm gonna flat my number. I'm gonna walk out, and you can fuck off. But on the way out, I took and I mixed up a concoction. I took and I kept these 2 milks for like 3 weeks, and they were just so nasty. And I put them into a coffee bag, one of them resealable ones, and I sat and poked holes into the ends of fish oils, because they'll give you fish oils and for vitamins. And I squeezed all those in there, and I put it under the warden's door, and I jumped up on it, and I stomped on that fucker and just splashed it all over his office. It was great. And so when they were releasing me, they hauled me out like Hannibal Lecter. It was hilarious. I was laughing so hard. Like,
I mean, if you're gonna go.
Yeah, you guys still gotta let me go. I don't care.
I feel like they should have, photographers, videographers recording this, and then sell you the opportunity to buy the tape and the photos at the gift shop as you're exiting through the gift shop. It's like, enjoy your stay here. Here's some mementos. Send them to the grandkids.
Yeah.
Make money off of everything. It's like merchandising opportunities. I saw that on C-SPAN. The merch guys were out at sunrise as early as they could to get on the streets to sell warm beanies, hats, and things, mementos of the momentous.
I was at the Trump inauguration. I hated it. I loved it. Whichever.
Loved it.
Really, you could just like have both printed, and then you could just sit there and like put one on one side of your cart, one on the other.
Yep. Yep. All the merchandise available.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was interesting to see, but weird that flags were flown at half mast because they were still celebrating the death of a old guy president who lived a long life. So the flags were at half mast, but then also it was MLK Day, so there was some weirdness around that.
Carter was the most feckless president that's ever been. Like, wow.
But then it turns out, do you guys know Stanley? Is it Levinson or Levison? Stanley?
No.
The guy who created the Martin Luther King character.
Mm-hmm.
So his name is not Martin Luther King, right? Martin Luther is a reference to a Lutheran guy who's like, hey, I don't like these indulgences that the Catholic Church is allowing. So the Catholic Church at this point was allowing people to pay for indulgences of sins that they had not yet committed. So futures on sins.
Oh, you got some sin credit, huh? In case you go out and have a wild one.
Well, you could probably buy them at a discounted price because you buy them before you sinned. All right. So all this ridiculousness led a guy named Martin Luther to say, hey, we don't want to do this anymore, and sort of branching out and forking out. But then to name a black guy after a white German guy seems to be some level of humor and irony that I haven't quite worked out yet. So to celebrate a Martin Luther and then call him King and then call him Junior and then put it all together and then celebrate his day and put it on every calendar seems to be some special level of mockery or humiliation ritual or reminder of something that I can't quite put my finger on my nose yet to figure out what's going on there. But I think more and more people are noticing things that they hadn't seen before, which leads to the next question of, is free speech back? Has Donald Trump returned free speech to everybody?
Fuck no. Republican speech is back. Why, you still look at, since Elon Musk is out there, I'm the free speech king, and then took away like half a dozen, including Myron Gaines, Jake Shields, Stu Peters, took away anybody basically that doesn't bow to the small hat regime, he took away their checks.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a super interesting thing to me right now, because so for me, one of the big things, one of the reasons I would never, outside of I just don't like being led and I'm a free man. I don't like the political system because they literally set it up so that no matter which way you go, one of the sides is going to be complete. It comes with a poison pill. So you could take the basic Democrat positions and they're not too bad. But then you got the poison pill of the complete wild LGBT and all that other nonsense. And let's get, like basically communist, all that. Most of the Republican stuff, it's all right. And then you've got the small hat crap. You've got to put, both sides have got their poison pill that they make sure that they shove down your throat. And if you want to be on their team, you've got to represent that. And I'm noticing that the general public is not down. And then they're not cool with the small hat thing. They aren't buying it. And
they're also not buying corporate fascism.
Yeah.
And that's the poison pill for the R's or the D's.
Yeah, 100%.
Or the I's, for that matter.
4 months ago, the technocrats were the worst people in the world. And then at the inauguration, they're like, and Mark Zuckerberg, and Elon Musk, and Bill Gates.
So the tech bros were sitting in the place reserved for Trump's family.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean Trump's family is Jeff Bezos, whose wife was wearing some frilly, lacy-looking lingerie piece, and then Zuckerberg was famously caught staring at the little lacy racy bit,
which we didn't even know that he liked sex. We all assumed that he was like an android or something.
There's Zuck trying to keep his face together. Bezos looking like that Superman villain. Yeah, they all own communication platforms.
And they're in the front row.
And they were the bad guys. They were the bad guys 4 months ago, according to Republicans.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now
but then
it's not
Zuckerberg
awkward.
brought Dana White onto the board of Meta, and all was good. A men's woman went on Rogan, said that mean old Joe Biden told me to censor people. I didn't want to censor people, Joe Rogan. I just wanted to grow my hair out and grab some dicks at jiu-jitsu. That's all I wanted to do.
Get a little tan.
Yeah. Get my bronze on. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mean to take away all those accounts and ban all those people and force an agenda that was bullshit. And we still don't really apologize for it, but the government made us do it, so it's not our fault.
Times were different then. Right. Times are different now. We're making the most of what we got.
Just gave $1 million to the inauguration, man. I'm one of you now.
Yeah.
One of you. I'm gonna drop some Rothbard quotes next time I'm in an interview.
It's too fucking much. And what's amazing for me is that one though, the public's not bucking. The typical right wing voter, they're loving it. Like they're all about Elon Musk. They're gonna excuse anything. They're like for myself, Musk is obviously in the small hat regime and he's out there doing the Nazi salute. They're like, look, he's a white nationalist like me. You're like, oh wow, this is so weird. So weird.
Yeah. Ugh, dear Lord. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. And then, the mainstream alternative media, and then all of the little like affiliate satellite systems that revolve around it for residual clicks or whatever it is, they drive it. Like any sensible person looking at it goes, okay, well, that's a defense contractor who also owns a social media platform. Oh, look, it's another defense contractor who also owns or is heavily invested in multiple social media. Oh, hey, guess what? There's another defense contractor that owns multiple communications platforms right next to this. I'm starting to notice a pattern. 13 billionaires in the cabinet, you say. 13. That's interesting. 13 billion.
Hold on, Steve. He's making America great again. He's for the working man, Steve.
Right. The combined wealth of the billionaires in the cabinet. We can, have an entirely different conversation. We said this on the show this morning. You have an entirely different conversation about whether or not billionaires actually exist. In reality, these people truly own nothing, and they're very happy. Separate conversation. But the combined wealth of 13 people in the cabinet is more than 172 separate countries. 13 people.
That's a flex.
Doggy.
And the American public right now is like, dude, if he could do a 5% of the things he claimed he was going to do in that speech, not in his selling campaign, dude's already voted in. Like in his inauguration speech, if he could do 5% of that, he'd have to be a fascist dictator, much less any larger percentage. Like, you can't do that. The things he's talking about forcing through are just wild. And now all of a sudden, for years, it's been a problem with the blue team where they don't realize the difference between federal and state, and that state needs to keep its own power or else the federal becomes this overwhelming thing. Now the team red doesn't understand that either. Like, Trump's going to come into your city and take away your George Floyd statues and they can put dicks on all your trannies. Like, what the fuck are we even talking about?
The recocking of America. And come socks.
Got Elon Musk out there freaking doing the salutes. Like, oh, wow. Like,
that took up all of the media attention, and hardly anybody noticed that when Trump signed the executive order for Doge,
he didn't put his hand on the Bible.
Well, he didn't do that either. If once you're absorbed into a different religion, you don't do that.
Trump has an official Bible product, and he did not use that official Bible product that he released to put his own hand on.
Wasn't the Trump Bible with the freaking embossed
James did it, damn it.
Trump NFT on the cover.
I understand that there's a lot of details to maintain on this very special day, but the obvious one, you release a Bible with your name on it, and you don't put your hand on that same Bible and then sell even more of them, like the commemorative inauguration day version of this.
It might have taken away from his coin.
Leaving money on the table.
It could have. Well, that would have messed with Melania coin.
Well, what would have been fun would have been a tie-in deal where if you bought the coin, you have the coin, now you can spend the coin, because this is the issue I want to talk about here is what is an economy. And if you're purchasing tokens, Trump tokens, and they don't serve any purpose other than trading them for other tokens, then we're not having, we're not buying Bibles, we're not buying bread, we're not buying food with them, we're not paying rent with them. Well, what can you do with them?
You hold them. How do you not know this, Marcus? You hold them.
Right. Okay. But I can't eat
them. Hodl, motherfucker.
I can't eat them.
Hodl. No, it's true. Like, at least with Pogs, you had to slap them down. You get in fist fights over it and stuff like that. Yeah, they even took that away.
Yeah,
right. Beanie Babies.
Yep, they've been calling crypto digital beanie babies for fucking. And look, dude, I've used it. It's helped pay rent. It's helped fucking pay for my kids to eat and stuff like that. You know, but I'm not. I don't have the luxury of holding on to it like an asset. It has to be immediately.
We need to remain realistic about what we're dealing with and what these things actually are, to realize that, yes, this is so there's calling it a meme coin, and then everyone is saying a meme is a joke and there has to be a punchline to a joke. So we're making all these extrapolations of the meaning of the thing, of what the meaning of the thing is what it does. The motivation of the person is what was the result of it. It's like, work your way backwards, figure it out. It should be very clear. The point of releasing Trump coin is so people can feel rich. This is King Trump giving his own money out so people can buy it, and then they can feel wealthy, but they aren't actually wealthy.
Well, and as they're trying to create this Bitcoin strategic reserve, and as Tether provided $700 million or some ridiculous amount of money to help bail out the fucking treasury and shit like that just recently, to get, and I'm guessing in exchange for becoming the official government platform by which, you know,
by which all others will be worthless.
Well, no, it'll just, you know, basically, they'll.
I mean, realistically, the first one that I can walk into that people can walk into a store and actually purchase with it, that one wins. All the other ones are a dead format at that point. If the government greases the tracks to let somebody go in and say, take their little phone, like I see the kids do, and hover it over the thing, and it bling, and you can buy gas, that dude wins.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this gets into the ideas of economies, Triffin dilemma, what is actual money, what is fungible, and if your whole point is you freeze because you think, I can't do anything with this, or I can't sleep because the markets are open 8 days a week, 25 hours on the clock. It's like there's more time packed into the markets than actual human time involved in this. So people are posting in chat rooms and message boards that they're watching what they think is a financial market chart, but no one's saying, hello, wake up, go to sleep now, rest, change your diaper, go eat some food, like get away from the computer. Your money's going to be okay. There's no security. There's no sense of I can just relax now because I have a little bit of wealth. No, it's the complete opposite. So because the thing is moving, and here's the point I'm making, algorithmic trading. There's software, there's people who are not people pretending to be people trading these things. It's not real volume and traffic and trading. But people new to this don't understand that. So they think it's by the people for the people. But this is not that. This is not an exchange of dollar bills under a subway underpass where people set up tents and they're having a bazaar market. This is people playing against a casino. And people, when you walk in a casino, do you think that the slot machines are fair and balanced and they have to pay out? All those Schwab terminals and the idea that there's a stock market, these are toys given to adult children to feel like they're day traders, to feel like they're doing something with their time. And this is just a complete mockery of what a job looks like. And a man who goes to a factory, he comes home, he brings bread home, this type of thing. But now I want to go back to this H-1B1 visa thing and the color of the skin of the people being brought in and traffic and borders and so it's like you take away factories, We don't like factories. We're working too hard. You take factories away for a few years, a few generations, and now you're going to bring them back, and people are going to thank you for bringing back manufacturing to America. Is that what it takes to get people to celebrate? Real hard work and labor? It's like pick your own potatoes and strawberries and food?
I mean... the trajectory of the country right now is pretty freaking fragmented, but it seems like there's a huge segment of it that's, oozing blissfully, or at least oozing on antidepressants with a plastic smile towards transhumanism.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody seated in the front row of that inauguration is people who would definitely are a part of that I want to upload my consciousness and live forever crew. So there's going to be a merger of that to satisfy those needs. There's people in every, broad sweeping agenda planning document that the UN or the World Economic Forum or whoever's put out over the last 50 years or so, Club of Rome, stuff like that. There's always a section of it where they talk about, anywhere from 15 to 30% of society in general isn't going to go along with this, and they're going to be effectively left behind to go pick their own potatoes. And
to attempt to grow their own gardens after a break in 2 or 3 generations of not growing your own food,
right?
Then you're gonna live off your own land and figure that out,
right? That's a pretty quick attrition rate.
We had joked before that once Trump comes in, it's going to take too long to build factories, so we'll just use the ones in Mexico and just just take the city of Monterey and put it into Texas or something.
No. You just call it the North American Union. Okay. Now it's Mexico, Canada, Greenland,
and
down to the Panama Canal.
And pretend like you just came up with that just now, even though the guy sitting there pretending like he's your right-hand man at this point and basically more powerful than the vice president. His dad is the one who came up with that whole plan.
Yeah.
You're gonna pretend like it's yours.
Yeah.
And that you're for the people.
Yeah. No, we talked about it on the show before several times about Elon's grandfather, Joshua Haldeman, who was one of the original technocrats, and going back to the 30s, there's a map that they drew for the technate. The North American technate, which is I think it goes down into Venezuela a little bit, maybe even northern Brazil, but it's almost effectively the exact same, the United States of Canada, the US, and Mexico.
So then I gotta ask, is there an idea to then, because the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America, are we going to see more seamen and Navy presence in that, and to put people on ships and have a big show of that? Do we expect to see Trump being a more military presence, where he's taking pictures with them, he's standing on their what do you call them? The big boats with the big flat and
aircraft carriers.
Aircraft carriers.
Yeah.
Are we going back to Pirates of the Caribbean? Are we going to take over Cuba too? Are we going to take over that whole ocean body and just absolutely own it?
Well, so go ahead.
The Democrat side was straight up basically fucking standing up for slavery by the end of the last election cycle, where they're like, what do you mean we can't have Mexicans working for 25 cents an hour? What kind of racist are you? Right? You're like, wild.
Yeah. My understanding of the renaming thing, the Gulf of America thing, is that there was a moratorium put on drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. So rather than go through all of the red tape of trying to lift the moratorium and however long it would take to fucking reverse that shit. If you change the name, you're no longer drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. You're drilling in the Gulf of America. It wasn't specific in the legislation in terms of longitude and latitude.
And the Pan American Canal. How are we going to rephrase that? We're taking it over. We're owning it. It's going to be the Pan American Canal. That whole bit. We're just taking it over.
No, we're just taking it. We're taking it.
What are they going to do about it?
Right.
We did the Panama invasion already.
Sure.
We didn't even call it a war. It was an invasion. It just, like we're here. We're taking it. We're doing.
Brazil doesn't have a navy. Cuba doesn't have a boat with some.
They got plenty of boats. They just don't have a lot of guns mounted on them.
Elian Gonzalez.
Right.
The Elian Gonzalez tributary tribute.
Right. Illegal Elian.
Their boats are less nuclear powered and more bean powered.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
There was talk of soybeans again, and I think Joe Atwell had said to someone, due to your diet, and we understand that you have a proclivity to vote for one certain team. You have a little bit of extra fat on your body. You're what we would call a soy boy. So if I could pay for your blood test now, and then a year after you following my diet to say, eating different meats and removing soy from your diet, would you then all of a sudden vote Republican? Would you vote authoritarian? Would you vote a different way? Would your mind change? Would your thought processes change due to your diet?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I would add to it, are more Republican women off birth control and more Democrat women on birth control?
Well, that's kind of something they start handing out to kids at like 11 to 13 for various reasons.
Yeah.
Under the guise of, oh no, just take this. Yes, it's birth control, but it's also good for this, or it's also good for that. And so in adulthood, I think you would find that to be the case. Yeah, I don't, but it's something that like you would imagine that with like a complete reversal of diet would also come the formulation of other habits, and based on that environment you might also change overall. The ancillary change and all of that would likely contribute to a change in political philosophy. But I mean, they're bullshit and tailor-made to drag in dupes to keep them voting into a system, but it's basically a consent ritual for bloodline pedophiles. So there's that.
Did Trump say anything about not having to eat the bugs? Are we
no?
Eating
in fact, they played a clip this morning of the new WEF president CEO dude talking about how happy they were that the Trump administration was asking for such a large footprint at the WEF this year. So they're getting a full delegation by the end of the week from the Trump team.
It's interesting.
Yeah, but you eat healthy, William. That's not how the majority of the voting population eat. And I would dare say you're probably not in the voting population. And neither am I, and I eat well. And so I'm like, I don't know how much these different chemicals, like I said, they say that specifically when a woman takes birth control, that she chooses more passive men that act more feminine, and that is somebody they want to be around more. But as soon as they start in their ovulation cycle, they automatically want the more dominant, more aggressive man. And that's what they're going to choose. And so these women on birth control, that this is all that they're having, and they always choose this one path. And you got to wonder how much between diet and things like that, how much is that affecting those things?
Well, I mean, you're having in both cases, you're having your body chemistry violently altered.
Yeah.
And in William's case, I would imagine that, like, you already have a foundational philosophy. You already have, core belief systems, and a change in diet isn't necessary. It's already part of, like, your routine. It's not even that, that's why I was trying to tack on to that the other changes in environment, habit, routine, peer group, stuff like that would come from someone who was soy boy going to someone who just woke up and said, okay, I'm gonna join a gym and fucking get on the carnivore diet.
Well, and that's kind of a greater question.
There's no doubt. In fact, Steve's been out in my farm when there's been times that large groups of dudes have come, and Steve was here, and some of the dudes that showed up, they were on the soy boy end, but as soon as you get them around big bearded men fucking chucking logs out in the forest, they're like, well, hold on, I want my nuts to hang.
Yeah, it was adorable, by the way. It was so cute.
So with the soft boys, the soy boys, does pride go before the fall? Are they going to say, fitness is going to be important in Trump's America? Or are they going to double down and say, you know what, my body shape, my appearance, this is my choice, my body, my choice? Are we still saying my body, my choice? What trends are
it'll be interesting to see which way the pendulum swings on that. It really will, because I mean, if San Francisco can have a fat ambassador, then the Trump administration can probably have a fitness ambassador. And so I could, it's, action, reaction, and inversion. And so if Trump puts puts it at the front and center of, like, a youth campaign, you're going to have a whole bunch of liberal parents that are freaked out over, they'll make it like, Hitler's Youth or something like that. It's just the laziest, dumbest stuff. And so they'll be like whole freaking social media campaigns to, like, fatten up your kid, stuff like that. Donald Trump can't take away my freedom to give my kid type 2 diabetes.
Fucking, you'll have fucking Karens doing like the fucking Looney Tunes thing with the gravy, only it's a barrel full of fucking corn syrup.
Ranch dressing on your chicken nuggets.
Oh man,
sure, as much as you want.
The partially state-owned, U.S. state-owned TikTok by that point will be lit with liberal women dousing their children in freaking high fructose corn syrup.
Sure.
And fluoride.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, understanding that reels on TikTok, short form video stuff is not a representation of reality, and people are encouraged to be their most cartoonish self, to be their most stereotypical, comedic, bizarre self. So that was rewarded and encouraged naturally. Now, when TikTok went down for, was it 8 hours, 9 hours? It was taken down before it was announced that it would have to be allowed or removed from the store. I think TikTok themselves put up a notification for people with IP addresses within America to say, and it included Trump's name on the message to say that we're working with Trump just to restore access or something. So his name was on there and people were upset about that. And it was down for maybe 10 hours and then they returned it.
Yeah.
Returned access. In that small window of time, and a little bit before that, another Chinese application, Americanized title as Red Note, was gaining a little bit of popularity. So people were Americans who were testing waters and other platforms were then going to China's Red Note, which was another social media, whatever, you post pictures, you post videos, all the social medias trend towards all the same features. So there's no real difference in them anymore. And with the translation abilities to put subtitles on the videos, Americans were now talking with Chinese people on Red Note, and there was a bit of a cultural exchange here. Now, this cultural exchange was new to a lot of people. They had no idea what China was, and they had preconceptions about China. So people were exchanging these ideas. Some of the funny things that I saw were quote unquote white women, Western women, blonde hair, blue eye women, whatever American woman looks like, was posting to Red Note, and Chinese women were complaining that their boyfriends were no longer interested in the Chinese look. So there was a concern of this, we can't have this. So the Chinese people were angry at American women for their dancing videos, saying, we don't want that stuff here.
Well, you got to paint the rest of the picture. It's not just their look; it's their horribly slutty look. So it's not just, and I saw some of these things myself.
Yeah,
it's not just like girls out in sundresses, innocently sitting next to a picnic basket, nicely, and no, they're like, hold on. Fucking bitches fucking twerking in G-strings over here on damn Twitters or on TikToks.
Yeah.
And we can't keep up with that. We're not skanks.
There was a sense of decorum, some sort of social cohesion as to what is appropriate behavior. That was a topic of concern as well. Yes, the other topics were people were comparing medical bills and cost of living and things. So China.
This one's a big one because if you look at Iran, there's an easy case to be made that Iran was just the polarized their society is just the polarized opposite of us. At one point in time in the 70s, our societies looked pretty much the same. And since then, we turned into the blue-haired boys, nose ring, boys, septum ring, boys are girls, blah, blah, blah. And Iran went full conservative. And in fact, part of the insanity that we experience here is what they push as propaganda over there in order to keep their conservative, lifestyle driven.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly the point that I was pushing towards, is to say that what is being shown on social media is used as a propaganda tool by everyone. So even on Red Note, where Americans were getting this idea that somehow China was 50 to 100 years into the future with their technology, with their culture, with their politeness, with their economy. Somehow it was like a Star Trek economy. And then some other more level-headed people were talking them down to say, well, this is a Chinese firewall situation where they're not allowed to speak about poor conditions. So again, let me just say this more clearly. If the wealthiest people of China have the leisure time to post on Chinese social media, it's going to paint a picture of China that looks like everyone is healthy, wealthy, and abundant and doing well. So then for the poorest of Americans to see that, it's not an accurate representation of any reality.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, just by the terms of service of Red Note, any criticism of the government is instant banhammer.
Right. So any Winnie the Pooh posting on any Chinese social media, that's a really serious offense.
Danny Polishchuk got banned from Red Note. Or at least used that as the premise for where did it go? For a video, because he's been doing these, writing these AI jokes or writing these AI bits, And they've been pretty freaking funny. The Trudeau ones in particular. But yeah, he's claiming that this particular video got him banned from Red Note. He's very upset about that.
我欢迎所有美国人来到红色音符。我知道你很伤心，你失去了你宝贵的 TikTok， 在那里你可以整天无意识的滚动，在你悲惨而毫无意义的生活中一事无成。中共当然对美国政府选择禁止 TikTok 感到不安，因为我们发现它非常有效地破坏你们国家的稳定，让你们比现在更胖更愚蠢。另外，就是你们这些白痴的所有宝贵数据不太理想，但中国人民坚持不懈。幸运的是，我们总有新的协调方式在你们这个导播里。Red Note 上的内容与 TikTok 略有不同，因此请注意，你可以批评任何你喜欢的政府，当然我们的除外。这样做将导致自动终身禁令，不来我们国家所有你们美国人喜欢的同性恋，在红色上但很糟糕。其次，这么也到性别上议
Two genders in China，
取消我们的发型也是不允许的。是的，他们看起来都一样。
Wow. Two genders in China, a one-child policy in China. Is that still in play?
I don't think that's. I don't know. Maybe. No. I think they reversed that. Maybe they figured out they were gonna very rapidly depopulate themselves that way.
Okay.
Well, especially when everybody chose one sex. Like, you know?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Well, breed boys in China and then import white women because they all seem to want it, right? Women can be imported easily, but men need to be of the soil of the land.
Right. Let's see. Okay.
我们的发型也是不允许的。是的，他们看起来都一样。当女人留短发时，他们看起来就像我们的男人。我们的政府正在研究解决方案，但遗憾的是没有取得任何进展。
No progress.
天安门广场是北京的一个公共广场，仅此而已。别再提了，还明确禁止取笑我们在红色音符上的口音。是的，我们将字母 L 读成 R。我们知道这样做很有趣，但我不会容忍这样做。你不是唯一能模仿别人口音的人。Look at me, I'm a dumb American. I like football and guns. 看到这里感觉不太好是吗？我期待大家了解中国丰富的历史和文化。美国到处都是弱智的共产主义者，他们是最容易被洗脑。但我们期待着最终得到每一位。再会。
If you like that, make sure to subscribe and follow.
Subscribe and follow. Good stuff. Good stuff. So the cultural exchange was quite short-lived, certainly.
No, there's still like Twitter communists that are trying to get I hate America clout points for being like, oh, look what Red Note said about America, you know, and stuff like that. It's pretty fucking silly.
I'm sure that they were shocked to find out that the majority of people in China, like the majority of people everywhere, were rural and live a whole different life than city people.
Yeah, no, they haven't figured that out because the rural people don't have internet or Red Note. It's the wealthier Chinese with leisure time.
Sure. And here's another question I just thought of now. I know that there are certain countries that have agencies where there's just people that are in the military, but their job is to sit at computer banks and they just post to social media all day.
Yep.
How does that not apply to, say, China?
Oh, it does. It does.
Okay.
What's 100%. The MOS on that?
Huh?
MOS?
Yeah.
I'm not. I would imagine it would be similar to the way that the freaking U.S. Army or UK or Israeli Army runs it. You know what I mean?
Right, and we were talking about cyber warfare just how many months ago. It's a reoccurring topic. It comes up every so often. The talk of,
if the cyber warfare was like it was in Johnny Mnemonic or like hackers, I'd be totally way more down with it. It's not even cool like that. I don't even know what the fuck's going on.
It's just not exciting.
No.
People forgot anything in terms
like hackers was fun, and Angelina Jolie kind of looked like a boy with big lips, and
a pixie haircut, kind of that tomboyish thing. It's just more practical to not have hair in the way when you're hacking all day.
And the evil guy ran around on a skateboard with a backpack looking all weird and shit. Like, that was way more
when
fun.
Hacking was fun. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like Johnny Mnemonic, he had like the whole glove, like it was like a Nintendo thing on the internet or something. Like now you were just like a Nintendo guy, like I'll slash you.
Right. Is there talk of Silicon Valley becoming Silicon Valley again and making actual silicon chips? Are we bringing back manufacturing of hard drives and data drives to the Americas?
Well, from the way it's sounding, that wouldn't be in fucking Silicon Valley. It sounds like that new tech area they'd want to put in is in Idaho.
Because I think there was a Fox.
And that's already a highly Republican, very affluential area.
Was there a plant going in around Milwaukee area? I think a Foxconn plant going in. And then they're talking about data centers.
Hey, that.
And is it a good time to bring up Real ID? I think 20 years ago there was something talked about pushing towards a Real ID, and I think now in Minnesota and in May of 2025 it's now the requirement for travel.
Yeah, they've been pushing it back, air travel, and then they're trying to get it by 2030 for interstate travel.
Fuck you.
I haven't heard any talk about that from any political sphere. It's just something that is.
Oh, dude, it was part of the original Real ID conversation back in like 2020, 2018, something like that. I remember reading about it in the San Francisco Chronicle, and then they didn't talk about it after that.
Yeah, they pushed it back, but that's California. California, they enact like this shit recently, like the TikTok ban where they banned it and then it's back in 12 hours.
Sure.
That's a normal California law thing. California is just retarded with the way that their law system. They pass laws knowing that it's going to get overturned the next year. Like, you're like, oh yeah, this isn't even feasible. We're just not going to be able to do this. But they still pass the law like a bunch of dumbasses and screw a bunch of people over. Always small businesses, because small businesses can't afford to take that hit. And then once they restart up, the startup costs are ridiculous.
Sure. And that was kind of a difference between America, the West, and China, maybe the land of the rising sun, the East. Where in China, as soon as a business becomes so large, it kind of gets taken over by the government. So it sort of becomes a government partnership. But small businesses in China do really well, and they can be flush with cash, and they can make a lot of money there. In America, it was stated that it's sort of the opposite, where the small businesses have the most fees and license requirements and taxations, and just making it impossible.
How is it different? Well, like the big business is subsumed by the government, and then the government fucks over the small businesses. Like, how's that different? Like we saw already just at the inauguration, sitting in the front row was all the big business people,
right?
And fuck the rest of us. But hey, Trump's for the small man, dipshits.
For the entrepreneur, the entrepreneurial spirit. I know his Art of the Deal book was a popular one, and also his book with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. What's Robert Kiyosaki been doing, and why was he not seen at the inauguration?
Well, they had to make room for the TikTok CEO.
But all of those guys were white. They could have gotten a Kiyosaki up there.
No. There was a Chinese fella, and there was Sundar Pichai from Google, and there was a couple other more melanated individuals up there. There was the I can't remember his name. He owns Reliance Industries. He's like one of the top 10 wealthiest guys in Asia. Indian dude, number 1 or number 2 wealthiest guy in India. He was in the front row.
To play back the footage, it's kind of a who's who of business tycoons.
Yeah.
John Alger, what's up, brother?
But yeah, and I mean, and Elon Musk was there, and as we all know, he's an African American.
It's funny, I've yet to meet a black South African.
Yeah, they killed most of them.
Yeah, I have yet to meet one.
Yeah,
like where I'm from, they did pop up in South Dakota occasionally, and they were always batshit crazy. Like they partied. These guys would be like 35 and partying like they were 14 still.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, I just drank an entire bottle of Everclear and snorted a can of paint. Do you have some cocaine? Mm-hmm. You're like, slow your fucking roll there, buddy. Holy,
like, my dude, it's 11 a.m. and he's like, yeah.
We don't live like this. I don't know what you guys do in your country. I don't know. I understand you got brown and things like that. That's some wild shit. We don't do that. Settle down. Like, hey man, I was just over here to smoke to see if you could smoke some weed with me because I gotta settle the fuck down. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Have some edibles. Mm-hmm. Go to bed.
Mm-hmm. For like 2 days.
Yeah.
Do that.
Nice.
Cleaning up the kitchen. It's an important thing to do. Got a lot of cleaning to do. There's a lot of filth in this country, and we're ready to cleanse it.
Taking it back.
Is there more dog whistles that we've missed? There's a lot of talk of like how far a person could raise their hand above their head, and if they did it twice, then it means something. Was there a third time that it was missed?
You cannot be from Western society and do that. And I mean, with the emphasis that he did, he's like, it's not like he went like, or something like that. That dude was like,
sure.
Right. What the fuck? Nobody does that and doesn't know what they're doing. Nobody in Western society. We've all been
and like we were saying though, man, like
is it a Roman salute?
He was trolling openly, and he says, "I'm sending you my heart," and then like smacks his heart for the dude. It's meant to capture the news cycle and to make people not realize that in the executive order creating Doge, there's no mention whatsoever about getting rid of agencies or anything like that. It's all about updating the tech of government the United States government. Yeah.
Government efficiency.
So Amazon with their cloud services, Elon Musk with his Skynet services, it's all digital stuff out in the cloud, up in the air, up in the ether.
Well, why wouldn't you love it? With the Bitcoin, they already flat out came out and said through the blockchain that you all touted like it was great. We monitor every single thing you've ever done. Every transaction, if you want a piece of bubble gum or a $3 jerk off on, I don't know about these whatever with these porn sites. I don't know what they cost the thing with the only girls.
Right.
They know all of it about you. They can build an entire portfolio, and there is nothing that says more about a person than where they put their money.
And they're going to sell VPN service, so now you're paying for your ISP, and because your ISP is wide open, you got to have a VPN so you can cover your tracks a little bit, and then you got to buy your coins. But to buy your coins, well, that's one thing. But now you want to cash out your coins. Now you need to show some paperwork. You got to take some pictures. You got to kind of do a 360 scan. You got to get some fingerprints, saliva sample. Like, at what point is it going to be so ridiculous to withdraw whatever tokens you've collected that some people are just going to have to say, you know what, I can never withdraw them. I have to stay within the system. I can't cash out. I can't buy gold with them. You think you're going to buy a car or real estate with this funny money? I mean, that's for a debate, certainly we'd love to debate this topic more extensively and very specifically down to the nitty-gritty of every aspect.
Which Darren's already agreed to come in and do that debate, but
sure,
obviously he's a bit sidetracked right now with the final experiment stuff and dealing with all of that.
I thought the science was settled. Is they're still working on the science of it? Crunching the numbers. Snow blindness. Can you even see that sun was up for 24 hours? And they're just staring at it?
Be there. Dude, could you imagine, especially up there? Like you're from Minnesota,
yeah.
Like, and Steve's from that area. Some people, like around here, especially, don't realize when the sun's up like that, and it's
my eyes hurt.
Oh God, you would walk outside and you couldn't open your eyes for nothing. You'd be, the Inuits. Yeah. They say they made the first sunglasses, and they were just basically slits. Like the things for looking directly at the sun, and that's just to look normally at the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And 24 hours of that, you're getting sunburnt in negative temperatures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I grew up in Indiana back when it snowed. I guess it occasionally does that now. But
global warming is not an issue anymore. It's repealed. It's not allowed anymore, I think.
Well, they just pointed the weather machine at a different state, I think, is what happened.
Okay. Who controls the cloud making machines now? Is that in Trump's Space Force pocket?
Well, yeah.
Did we hear anything about Space Force?
Bill Gates is the one who's been, and this isn't even a conspiracy. Bill Gates has flat out been working on blocking the sun and doing things like that. And now him and Trump are apparently best friends now.
Well, this happened last time Trump went into the White House too. Right before he went in, he hung out with Bill Gates for a little bit. Then he withdrew the United States from the World Health Organization, and then over the next year and a half, he gave Bill Gates's group Gavi over $1 billion to do effectively the exact same thing that the WHO would.
Bill Gates, who said he could control the population crisis through vaccines. That's the guy we want controlling medical shit. Totally.
Yeah. So he just Trump earlier today withdrew from the WHO, or did that yesterday, right after he met with Bill Gates. So if history has anything to say about it, there's going to be a very large influx of U.S. government dollars to Gavi again.
Money. What is money? Do we have an answer? We know what a woman is now. That's been declared. We know what a man is. We know what a woman is. But what is money?
Right.
Have they declared what the official definition of the word money is?
I don't know. I didn't know it was necessarily up for contention.
Well,
I guess.
Well,
at one point in time, it really kind of is, though, because when you look at the country's history, it specifically 1-for-1 meant a certain weight in species of gold or silver. That was a 1-for-1 thing. You went in with a banknote and you could walk out with either a note or gold, one or the other. The two things were interchangeable. They meant the same exact thing. They were meant to mean the same thing. And now, what the fuck's your meme coin? What is that even? I don't even know. No, I'm not asking this rhetorically. What the fuck is it?
Is it? Could it be?
It's not a meme. It's not a coin. What the fuck is it?
Can I buy groceries with it?
Right.
Because the cost of living thing was brought up. With the release of all the information within a 48-hour window is such a flood of ideas that it's so difficult to even choose one thing to go deep into. Was the cost of living brought up, and is he having a task force to look into it, to address the cost of living? So all the peasants get a little bit more bread?
How do you even do that? I mean, the government has pretty hefty control of the energy sector. They could control that, and that would make fairly large gains. But nothing that he's talking about, and this isn't even me shitting on the tariffs and anything like that. I'm actually very much for that.
Mm-hmm.
But to pretend like that's going to bring down costs would be absolutely asinine. It won't bring down costs. It'll bring them up. What it'll also do is make American goods competitive, which will then bring up American manufacturing, which means Americans are getting more pay, which means they have more money. That's an entire sequence of events. Will it bring down costs? Fuck no. And I don't know how you could. I don't give a shit who you appoint. What are you going to do? Run around to grocery stores, run around to egg producers and tell them they have to charge less for their eggs?
Sure, and there might be multiple ideas of what currencies could be, with tokens and shit coins and electronic currencies and digital golds and food stamps and EBT and universal basic income. Has that been part of the conversation? Are there still trials in certain counties where that's been?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Elon Musk is a huge proponent of universal basic income. It always fails everywhere they try it.
Yeah, so what do I have to do to remain in the eligibility to receive the electronic food stamp disbursement?
Yeah, you have to be a good boy.
Okay. And then I can get my chicken tenders, my pink sloppy breaded chicken tenders with a packet of ranch dressing.
Yeah.
Could I pick that up from Walmart? Could I go to McDonald's?
You don't even have to go pick it up. They'll bring it to you. They'll bring it right. You don't have to leave your house. Just stay locked into your screen. If you feel like going somewhere, put on the VR goggles. You can go anywhere you want. You actually don't have the social credit or a vehicle to get you to real nature anyway, so you might have no real reason to.
Seems nice,
right? I mean, comfortable. These clowns sit here and talk about life like that, like it's going to be a good thing. Like that is a good thing,
right? So it's the future unevenly distributed to people who want it or don't want it, and not everyone has the choice. So they take what is available, and that's government cheese. Are we opening the government cheese?
We just had an argument about pouring salt onto your land. I don't know where else you go from there. I really don't. And that they want to expand North America and to take over. I mean, whether you're talking about the Nazi salute or the Roman salute, these are both highly expansionist. Their entire MO was expansion.
Sure.
So
my pride is wounded. Pour salt on me, please, sir. Pour more salt on my wounded pride.
In most countries, that shit that have snow, that shit's not even legal. They don't even let you do that in your own driveway and shit like that. Like, you go over to like Germany or any place like that, they're like, no, you don't salt your own fucking land, dummy. Even with road salt or just normal, like, they're like, no, you don't put salt on your. What are you doing,
dude? I mean. Dude,
put ketchup on your foie gras, on your steak, on your fine cut of meat. Just put some ketchup on it. Bring packets of ketchup to every restaurant you go to around the world.
And my best friend in high school was actually full-blooded Chinese, and he was conceived in China, but then he came over here. And he's like twice as big as all of his siblings and his parents. So don't tell me about the food they grow over there and that it's okay. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Are you saying that the nutrients in the food in China keeps the people smaller there?
The lack of. That's why they went and created an entire, you know, funny because the two crops that we looked at were rice and wheat. Mm-hmm. What are the two most GMO'd crops? Rice and wheat. Like they literally GMO'd rice first because there was such an issue with lack of nutrition for these Asian people that, especially on islands, that they created rice just to make it so, okay, you can grow this and be healthy still.
Fortified rice with extra niacin and vitamins and minerals.
Protein, heavy in protein.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then wheat, and then corn. Those are your three, and soybeans. Those are your three.
And if you're lucky, you get some weevils growing in there, so you get a little extra protein.
Right.
Well, I honestly would have an argument about whether you could even have wheat without weevils. Like, in my opinion, weevils are automatically there. I'm not even sure if they necessarily exist on this plane. Up until so there's an argument to be made, and an easy example of this is called a thermophile. And under recorded microscope, thermophiles, when the conditions are right in soil, will just appear. And then when those conditions are over, they disappear. There's no corpse, there's nothing left, there's nothing to dissect, nothing around. And so weevils, any flower that's not been highly radiated, which means that they've killed every single thing in the dust that's now was flour, including any nutrition for you. So it's just a dead matter now. If they haven't done that to it, as long as moisture hits your flower, all of a sudden weevils are there like magic. Doesn't matter what you fucking did, how nicely you cleaned it, how you took your wheat berries and cleaned them and kept them nice and blah blah. You grind that shit up into some flour, and you let it sit around. You let some moisture get in there, and you magically got weevils.
Do you get a Michelin star deduction for having weevils in your food? Like, all of the restaurants in America are Cisco slop. Did Trump say anything about restaurants and giving us 5-star restaurants again? The whole Make America Great Again promise implies certain things. Can we read between the lines and say what it includes and what it doesn't include?
Well, apparently it doesn't include red dye number 3.
Just that one.
Just
that one.
So more Code Red Mountain Dew.
There's an argument to be made that starts the ball rolling for other food dyes and stuff like that. That you can't.
They've made other food dyes illegal in the past, though.
Yeah. Now we got another one. I don't know.
And I think there was some sort of paints, art supplies that were just some laws changed about some sort of paints that might have had lead in them, or some certain pigments and things were changed. But I don't think Trump has anything to do that. Don't we still have a FDA and an EPA and the same regulatory commissions that are just going to keep on regulating and dysregulating according to whatever direction they're given?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Honestly, we'll have to see if they even go through with the red dye number 3.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like student loan forgiveness. Every year, student loan forgiveness is brought up, and then I don't think any student loan has ever been forgiven. Is it a sin?
That one's brought up by the Democrat. That one's brought up by the Democrats to excite college kids who who are just sad that they fucking went into debt over something that's pretty much useless.
Gender studies.
Yeah.
Social studies, and any of the studies, the male gaze in video games department studies, all of these sort of studies.
You see some of the other ones, like they got a Taylor Swift course.
Sure. So here's our conclusion. Now write backwards your thesis to reach the conclusion we've just assigned to you. Will we return to science, insanity, and logic and rhetoric and figuring things out? Is that what makes America great?
The problem is even some of these legitimate courses are basically pyramid schemes. Christy's sister-in-law, she didn't take underwater basket weaving or something like that. She took biology of some exotic ass fish, which basically has no jobs to it except for now, except for like going and teaching other kids to go into this industry so they can have a degree to do this thing that there's no jobs for. Like, what the hell? Like, there's only so much you need to know about the biology of one exotic fish, and unless it has some great impact on the entire world, nobody's investing into that.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like the sentiments and the feelings and the emotions have sort of shifted in myself, and I'm thinking, that great reset promised to restore some balance and bring things back, and now people are like, no, let's forget about that. Let's maintain the status quo and return to conservatism and centrality and just centered politics. It's just there was an opportunity to push things off the cliff and then have some radical change, and now people are like, well, you know what, that's a little bit too extreme. Let's not do that anymore. Talking people down off of cliffs and bringing them back, just go back to living your life. We don't need to talk about any radical reform. I don't know if there are still college students in tents protesting wars on foreign shores and to rivers and seas and whatever their slogans.
No, the Democrat side is pro-war now, Marcus. Catch up. Catch the fuck up.
Catsup, tomato product in my pocket, fake blood.
Yeah, the hippies
crisis
want
actors,
now.
psyops. I was listening to C-SPAN the morning of Monday, and the thing is, you could call in, and they had 3 lines.
Monday. I like how there was no date attached to it. Just the morning of Monday.
The morning of the Monday. C-SPAN. Call in. There's a Democrat line, the third party line, and the Republican line, and you can call in and you can talk for 20 to 30 seconds until they cut you off, and the guy just basically says, hold on, we have Donald Trump walking in, hold your thought. Donald Trump has walked in, continue your thought, caller. Thank you, caller. Go to the next one. And I heard Skibbity Toilet, and they hung up on him. I heard someone use the V word talking about vaccines, and then they're like, thank you, caller. Go to the next one. So people were expressing ideas without any comment from the people. So it was like, this is how Americans are feeling this day. And again, the big theme that people continually return to is America, founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, church and state. What does that mean? Thomas Jefferson talked about church being separated from state, being separated from church, and then went to church. And then on Monday, we see the video cameras in Washington outside of, is it St. John's Episcopalian? They have this
they
have this big church, and they go into this church building, and they have a church service. Cameras weren't broadcasting from inside of it, but we saw people go in, and we saw people go out, and we saw people moving around. And the callers kept calling in and talking about the same issue of church and state separation and what that means. And people were experiencing church being separated from state, being separated from church. But is it one thing, though? And none of them were even having the self-realization to say, well, isn't politics the default religion of America?
The separation of church and state thing isn't as much. Obviously, your religion is gonna drive a lot of your moral, so it's not as much as what people want to think it is. Mm-hmm. They got to understand that the original settlers in this country were escaping King James, who had a Bible completely rewritten. So before that, they had the Geneva Bible, which is what the settlers brought with them, the ones who were Christian. And they brought this Geneva Bible in order to, because the King of England had said this other Bible is illegal, and you now need to use this Bible, worship in this way that I said, and do this thing I said. So that's not quite the same as what they're talking about here. It's not like anybody's trying to do that. You know, it's not like there's not 83 different versions of Christianity in the United States.
Right, and the simplified argument might be that the idea of separation from church and state has to do with not having government interference into private places of worship and communities, unless they're splinter cells or strange groups of people with strange cult-like beliefs. Then certain agencies can report on them and investigate. But the general idea of the separation of church and state, C-SPAN, a lot of people are just paying lip service to what they think America was yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And all of those callers, just like Red Note, I was wondering, were they all just were they all coming from inside the building? Were they all government employees calling in to C-SPAN? And then no one was questioning that. So again, if we're talking about simulation theory and what is real and the Matrix and all these metaphors, and then you listen to C-SPAN, I listen to C-SPAN, and I was just absorbed in Americana and the idea of government and Washington, D.C. and buying a Trump sweater from some black guy in the corner who got there first. And it's like this whole special day and the ritual of it all. And it felt very innocuous and pleasant and kind and nice and fun for the most part. But then if all these callers representing themselves as Americans might have just been from within the building, the call was coming from within the building, no one would even know. So at some point, it's like we talked about the Great Awakening, and now it's like, okay, Daddy Trump's in power. Go back to close your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they made such a huge deal right during COVID about the Great Awakening.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's about acceleration and inversion, then yeah, he'd definitely be there to put people back to sleep.
Have all the splinter cells and all the resistance and the patriots and the people that were ready to start militias a few months ago, are they just like, oh well, you know what? It's cold. Let's just plan a Super Bowl party now. Let's just go back to watching sports and football, and betting on it.
Sports ball.
Yeah, the whole betting thing is gonna wreck the generation that porn doesn't claim, or freaking Pokemon Go doesn't claim, or whatever the fuck, stupid ass fucking video game people get sucked into. It's gonna wreck. It is. It's fucking insidious.
Dude, it's the Roman Empire fall all over again. Got a bunch of people having degenerate sex and gladiators and things like that, and then just gorging themselves on food while country people live destitute lives.
It was free popcorn day. I don't know if anyone went to the theaters on free popcorn day. Apparently, popcorn was free.
Wow, nice.
That'll save you $45.
And people got free popcorn, and what did they do with it? They poured it all over the floor. They made a mess of themselves. So their popcorn privileges now need to be revoked.
Aww.
Because we gave them popcorn privileges. They misused their popcorn privileges. And now we need to revoke popcorn privileges.
And with that, guys, that is our public service announcement for tonight. Do not abuse your popcorn privileges or you lose them.
It's true. That's true. Popcorn privileges are earned. And I got to jump. So
love you guys.
But yeah, we'll see you next week. Behave, and then we'll talk
Tuesday.
about popcorn next week.
See if you act right.
If you leave a kind comment below.
You're metal, dude. Dudes, deliberating. Deliberating. Dogface. Deliberating. Dogface. I'm the dude. 1 minute, dude. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fight!